The crowd here in India has been totally fantastic. You can tell that they like it with their heart.
They know a lot about heavy metal, you know, and they know what they like.
Very curious about what you're doing, asking questions not out of a necessity to have a small talk, but really because they care. And that's something I admire, you know, the honesty about it.
We have traveled a long way to play here, and I think they really appreciate that.
I think my favorite show was in Mumbai. Everything was pulsating and the stage and the crowd turned to one big mass. You just play the first note and the eyes go big and everyone is smiling and singing along, and that's something I really love.
And we played Guwahati, which is a city in the far northeast of India, tucked between Myanmar, China, and Bhutan. And when I got the tour dates before this tour, and I have to admit I had to look it up on a map, and we ended up playing this tiny sports bar with a small stage, and everything seemed very DIY.
Better don't spill a drink into that hole, because if you do, show's over.
There was like a huge power strip that was plugged just like those two naked cables, just plugged into another plug with matches. But I was really like, whoa, safety first.
These wires you see here, yeah, it's not by accident that they're just randomly like stuck under the plugs. They actually have to be there to connect. That's the style, that's Guwahati style. That's how people roll here.
Ironically, we blew the power in almost every other venue of this tour, but this night it kind of worked out. So I think we had the best lights of the whole tour in this sports pub in Guwahati.
It had its challenges, the venue and the setup, but the thing I love about bands like Ocean, they just rolled with whatever they had, and all of them mounted a really good show.
Yeah, man, I'm happy we got the chance to play in such an odd place that is so far off the beaten track, really. But they do have a small but thriving local metal and hardcore scene. Lots of grindcore and power violence, like really all the support bands were really brutal to play that night. Most of the bands we played with were actually really good.
When I have bands from abroad touring India, I always make it a point to have Indian bands playing along. I'm also trying to create a dialogue between international bands and the bands here, because I think both deserve to be heard. It was nice to see that the Ocean loved some of these bands. For me, that's a win. It's great.
For me personally, the most interesting band that we played with was this band called Ioish or something like that in Delhi.
They were like playing like really nice experimental music with really nice melodies and harmonies.
I think those guys, if they ever make it out of India, they would have a bright future ahead of them. Really great band.
One of my favorite bands on these shows was Orchid. They were a little bit like Red Chord mixed with chaotic Dillinger stuff and just really hectic shit with an awesome drummer that was just, I don't know, a very unique band.
Hyderabad, the support band, was also pretty cool. Hostilian, they were called.
The Indian music scene, I always use quotes when I use that term, is vibrant. It's just that Indian music is usually dominated by film music, which is Bollywood. And then of course there is the whole language thing. While English is spoken by a lot of people, it is not our primary language. So for an English band, it takes a little while to reach out to audiences, but it's growing.
For me, it feels a little bit like traveling back 10 years when we had this very connected and organized scene in Europe. I got that vibe from the audience as well. Something felt really fresh and energetic, and every show felt really honest.
After Bangalore, I remember we had like this few days off. Ram did he booked like a kind of safari for us in this national park.
We went to a place called Kaziranga, which is home to the Indian one-horned rhino.
We had an amazing 3 days out there, surrounded by beautiful nature, and like even before we entered the park, we already saw rhinos like on the roadside, from the car. So we stopped, and there they were.
That was just really, really good in the middle of the tour to have that break, to breathe fresh air and be in the nature, and then see all those cool animals like hippos. Why did I say hippos?
Also native in that park is the Indian tiger, which we were hoping to catch on our trip. And at some point, the guide that was with us was just pointing towards the end of the street and asking the driver to drive fast because he was apparently seeing a tiger.
What did he see?
This tiger just crossed on the road.
Oh, what? You saw him?
Yes.
We stopped in the middle of the road and stayed quiet for 5 minutes, and that was it. And I think Matthias lost his plastic bottle in the national park, and he felt super bad about it. My plastic bottle! Shit! I dropped it! Fuck!
That was a good change for us, and just good for the body and for the mind.
What the hell? Oh, that was close, man. Fuck. Shit.
It is important for bands to, when they're traveling over, to be able to get to see a bit of the country that they are in, rather than just to run from one show to the other. So Kaziranga was great that way.
Ram is an absolute legend.
He's a wonderful guy. He was taking really good care of us.
And he had everything under control, if we had like any problem, he was always there.
We literally didn't have to think about anything else than just do our thing, which is music.
He did a lot more than we would expect a promoter to do for us. He was very alert to things that are important for us, like the whole gear and lighting situation.
I never really had the impression that anything was about to get out of control. He was just the loveliest guy you can imagine, and a good friend, I would say, by now. And I hope we can see him again soon, and India, of course.
He was a really interesting person to talk to about all different kinds of things related to India, and sometimes just, you know, having a drink and a good laugh together. It was awesome to have him around. It couldn't have been any better, really, and especially after this previous experience where things didn't go the way as they were supposed to go. It was great to finally have someone who had his shit together.
I'm very thankful for the Ram guy.
Was that okay, Ram?